Welcome to Cars Retro Reviews. You know, people have asked me, hey, I've subscribed to your channel, why haven't you subscribed to mine? And the answer is simple. Your channel is really bad, your videos are just fucking dreadful. No, I kid. The answer is quite simple. It's really, I'm not at that level of commitment. You know? I mean, okay, sure, I've got a mortgage, I've got a child, I've got a wife, all that sort of stuff, but subscribing to your channel and being entertained by you, that's simply a level of commitment that I cannot commit to. I often think when I play Tetris, if Alexei Pajitnov didn't come up with it, would someone else have? And before I even start this review, I need to stipulate I am a massive Tetris fan. And that if I'm going to review a Tetris game, I cannot use a modern near-flawless version of the game as a basis for this review. This game was published by Jalico, and while I can't really see any game in their list of developed games that I know, the published list is a little better with games like R-Type 3. The game was developed by Natsume, and I've already reviewed both of their other Saturn games, you know, Highway 2000 and Virtual Casino. Two games on very opposite ends of the spectrum, so how this pans out will be the tiebreaker on whether Natsume are total shit or not. Already I don't have high hopes because the box artwork looks basic and boring. It's also important to note that this game came out on all three territories, PAL, US and Japan, which suggests to me that this game is good enough to get a worldwide release. It was originally released in the arcades in 1996, and in the same year it was ported to the Game Boy, PlayStation and the Saturn. It was touted as an attempt to revive the series. How it really feels is more like a quick cash grab. Presentation is alright, purely functional, but there was something about the menu option that I actually liked. I'm not sure whether it was the layout or the colour scheme, but it was something. I say that because from other reviews I've read on this game, no one seemed to give a shit about this. In-game presentation is average, and it's what you come to expect in a Tetris game, and absolutely nothing more. Graphics in this game are run-of-the-mill. Not great, not bad, but probably could have been on the Mega Drive or SNES. Having said that, I'm going to say something which might seem like an oxymoron, and that is I would prefer prettier graphics in my Tetris game, but the best graphics are usually the simplest. I'm an active regular on TetrisFriends.com, and they seem to have the right blend of difficulty, playability and graphics. They look nice, but are still practical, whereas this seems all a little underwhelming. Sound is meh. When I think back to all the games with great soundtracks, and what makes those amazing is it's a combination of both most appropriate and best composition. If you're playing a Sonic game, you don't want to be listening to something you could hear from the game Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons while you're running at breakneck speeds. So in a way, this game ticks off appropriate. Okay, sure. But what can you really do apart from the standard Tetris song that's so amazing? Whatever that is, it's not here. Gameplay is boring. You have three modes: Classic, Puzzle and Versus. Classic is exactly what you think it is. Puzzle? Well, actually, Puzzle is a little more interesting, and really, I have to give credit where credit is due. You simply have to get your guy to the floor at the bottom. And sometimes it's easy, and sometimes it requires both Tetris skill and the ability to work the puzzles out, of which I don't have either. Or rather, someone who plays Tetris as frequently as I do should be the greatest at this game. Versus mode is a thing. Local one-on-one, you know how it is. Now, the downside. They could have made this game a little more accessible by giving us an extra second or two when dropping the tiles, which later versions did, and in turn made the game a whole lot more fun. Gameplay is so standard, it's boring. The puzzles are interesting for a while, then I got stuck, then I put down the controller, and now I can't believe I'm writing a negative review for a Tetris game. In my defense, even by 1996, it had been out for 12 years and had enough iterations to try something different instead of fisting us with ultimately the same game. Around the same time as this game was my favourite, if not one of my favourite, versions of Tetris. Tetris Attack on the Super Nintendo. Holy shit, that game is amazing. And when you compare the two, this plays dingy and it's embarrassing. It's like having the wheels of a game stolen and the whole thing is up on blocks. Lasting appeals about an hour. You have several modes, which includes a versus mode, which I guess is enough. But even then, the versus mode is not exciting enough to come back to. Would I recommend this game? At this point, no. Nothing really pops. It's not a bad game, it's just barely competent. The whole package is pretty boring and lackluster. There was one other Tetris game released on this console, which was Tetris S. God, that's going to be hard to say when I review that game. Which was released purely in Japan. At the time of this review, I have not reviewed Tetris S. If Tetris S is not very good either, then Tetris on the Saturn is truly sad and very disappointing. Plus, you do have better games. It did something a little different with the puzzle mode, which has been done to death since. And this was supposed to save the Tetris series? Ugh, try again. And yet, somehow this game managed a sequel.